Welcome to another deep dive today.
Mm.
We're going to be unpacking the life and legacy of Peter Thiel,
Oh, yeah. This will be interesting.
one of Silicon Valley's most intriguing figures,
I think that's fair to say.
for sure. Our main source material today is The Contrarian.
A biography that goes pretty deep into his story.
Yeah, really digs deep. Most people probably know him as the PayPal co-founder.
Right. Early Facebook investor, billionaire.
Yeah, always making headlines.
Yeah.
Seems like...
He really is. He's everywhere.
So what makes Thiel so fascinating?
Well, besides all that you just mentioned, he's not just a tech innovator. He's a master strategist.
Oh, wow. So that's what sets him apart.
Even in his early years, I mean, you can see it. Even as a kid, Thiel displayed this remarkable ability to think ahead, anticipate the next move.
Like he always knew what was coming next.
Yeah, the book talks about it, his childhood, his family's move from Germany to the U.S.
Oh, so he wasn't born in the States.
Nope, and get this, he excelled at chess as a kid.
Chess. Interesting.
Yeah, ranked nationally in his age group.
So like some serious chess skills.
Oh yeah, definitely not your average kid.
I wonder if those chess skills played a role in his later success in the world of business and tech.
You know, I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, it has to be connected somehow.
Absolutely. Chess requires strategic thinking, right? Anticipating your opponent's moves while planning your own, often several steps ahead.
Oh, wow. That sounds exactly like what you need to be a successful entrepreneur.
It's the same mindset Thiel brings to everything he does.
Wow. So it's like those early chess matches were training him for Silicon Valley.
In a way, yeah. It's definitely a factor.
I mean, there are other factors too.
Oh, for sure. Lots
Yeah.
of other factors. His time at Stanford University, for example.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be a big one.
Incredibly formative Stanford. He wasn't just a student there, though.
What do you mean?
He was actively involved in shaping the intellectual discourse on campus.
Wow. So he was already making waves back then.
The book talks about his involvement with the Stanford Review,
The Stanford Review.
a conservative student newspaper that often courted controversy.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard of that. They weren't afraid to challenge the status quo.
Not at all. In fact, they seemed to relish in it. There were even some incidents involving,
What kind of incidents?
well, there were homophobic slurs and the defense of a student accused of statutory rape.
Oh, wow. That's pretty serious.
Thiel was right in the thick of it. Even wrote some pieces that questioned the value of multiculturalism
He was already pushing buttons back then.
and defending the right to offend.
So even in his college years, we see this contrarian instinct emerging.
Oh, absolutely. This willingness to go against the grain, challenge what he saw as liberal orthodoxy.
I see. And that's what would eventually define his approach to business and technology.
Exactly. And even politics.
This brings us to the part of Thiel's story that most people are familiar with.
The PayPal days.
The founding of PayPal and the rise of the so-called PayPal mafia.
It's a fascinating story, the PayPal story,
Why is that?
because it really encapsulates so much of what we see in Silicon Valley today.
Oh, I see. The good and the bad.
The relentless drive for innovation, the culture of disruption, the intense competition among brilliant minds.
So PayPal was like a microcosm of Silicon Valley.
In a way, yeah. And the company itself was a product of this chaotic, rebellious energy,
It was like the Wild West out there.
with a move fast and break things ethos that would become synonymous with the tech industry.
And at the heart of this chaos was Peter Thiel.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He was a driving force,
What do you mean?
not only in terms of his strategic vision for the company, but also in shaping its culture.
He was more than just a CEO.
Oh, for sure. You got to understand, PayPal wasn't just about building a company. It was about disrupting the entire financial system.
Yeah. I mean, they were really trying to change the world.
And within this pressure cooker, you had these incredibly ambitious personalities clashing.
Oh, yeah, I bet. That's when things get interesting.
Like the legendary rivalry between Thiel and Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah, I've heard stories about that.
It was intense. Musk had his own ideas about how the company should evolve.
And those ideas clashed with the Thiels.
Yeah. It was more than just a personality conflict. It was a clash of visions.
So it was like a battle for the future of online payments.
Exactly. High stakes. And out of this intense environment emerged a generation of tech leaders
The infamous PayPal mafia.
who would go on to found companies like Tesla, SpaceX, LinkedIn, Palantir,
Wow. It's like a who's who of Silicon Valley.
and to name a few.
It's almost like a Silicon Valley origin story, right?
Yeah, I like that.
This group of brilliant, ambitious individuals forged in the crucible of PayPal.
Going on to shape the tech landscape as we know it.
And Thiel's influence doesn't end there.
Nope. Not even close.
After selling PayPal, he didn't just rest on his laurels.
He kept going,
Blech.
delved into hedge funds, experienced incredible successes and significant losses.
So he had his ups and downs.
And he also started investing in unconventional ventures.
Like what?
Things like seasteading.
Seasteading.
Yeah, the idea of creating independent societies at sea.
That's a pretty out there concept.
It is. Sounds like something out of a science fiction novel.
What was it about this idea that appealed to Thiel?
Well, remember, Thiel is a libertarian at heart.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's always been skeptical of traditional government and societal structures.
I see. So seasteading was a way to escape all that.
Seasteading represented an opportunity to create new societies, free from the constraints of existing regulations and norms.
To start from scratch.
Yeah, it's this desire to escape traditional systems, to build something entirely new.
That seems to be a recurring theme in his life.
It seems to drive him.
So it's not just about being contrarian for the sake of it.
It's deeper than that.
There's a deeper philosophy at play.
A belief in the power of individuals to create their own destiny.
To shape their own worlds.
That's a great way to put it. And this brings us to another controversial chapter in Thiel's story.
Which is?
His feud with Gawker Media.
Ah, yes, the Gawker episode. This is where things get really interesting.
And perhaps a bit darker.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
This episode reveals a lot about Thiel's views on power media and free speech.
This should be good.
It really is a fascinating story. Thiel's decision to secretly fund Hulk Hogan's lawsuit against Gawker.
Oh, yeah.
A move that ultimately led to the media company's bankruptcy. It was a controversial one, to say the least.
Yeah, I remember when that news broke. It sent shockwaves through the media world. It seemed like something out of a Hollywood thriller.
It was wild.
A billionaire tech mogul taking down a media outlet he perceived as a threat.
It certainly raises questions about the limits of power and the ethics of using wealth to silence critics.
It's like something you'd see in a movie.
Exactly. Thiel argued that Gawker had crossed a line
What do you mean?
by outing him as gay years earlier, and that their brand of journalism was harmful.
So he saw it as a personal vendetta.
Yeah. But it also speaks to his broader views on the role of the media and the limits of free speech.
So it wasn't just about revenge.
No.
But also about making a statement about what he saw as irresponsible journalism.
That's right. Thiel believes that freedom of speech should not be absolute.
Oh, interesting.
And that there need to be consequences for what he sees as malicious or harmful speech.
Because he was willing to put his money where his mouth is.
He was. The Gawker case became a sort of public test of those beliefs.
A way for him to use his wealth and influence to reshape the media landscape.
Exactly.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It really is.
On the one hand, we value freedom of the press.
Of course.
But on the other hand, we don't want to see individuals unfairly targeted or harmed.
It's a tough balance.
And that's what makes Thiel such a polarizing figure.
He's not afraid to take on these difficult questions.
He's not.
To challenge conventional thinking, even if it means making enemies along the way.
That's for sure. And this willingness to challenge the status quo extends to his political views as well.
Oh, absolutely.
This is where things get even more intriguing.
Buckle up.
We see Thiel's political journey evolving, from his early libertarianism
Right.
to his very public support of Donald Trump.
His shift from libertarianism to Trumpism surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, it seemed like a complete 180
It-
for someone who had built his career on challenging traditional systems and hierarchies.
So what explains this shift?
That's the million-dollar question.
Was it purely pragmatic?
Like a calculated move to gain influence within a particular political sphere.
There are certainly elements of pragmatism at play.
I mean, he's not dumb.
Thiel is above all a strategist.
Right.
Always thinking ahead.
He sees the world as a game of chess.
Ooh, I like that.
And he's always thinking several moves ahead.
But I think there's more to it than that.
I think so, too.
What else is there? I think Thiel has become increasingly disillusioned with what he sees as the stagnation of American innovation.
Oh, interesting.
He believes that the U.S. has become too risk-averse, too bogged down in bureaucracy.
Too much red tape.
Exactly. And that this has stifled progress, particularly in areas like technology and space exploration.
He's not a fan of the status quo?
He's not. He sees Trump as someone who, despite his flaws, represents a break from the establishment.
A chance to shake things up.
And get things moving again.
So in a sense, Trump represented the ultimate disruption.
That's a good way to put it.
A way to challenge the system from within.
It's fascinating how Thiel seems to apply this principle of disruption to so many different aspects of his life.
It's like his guiding principle.
Technology, politics, even society itself.
He's a true disruptor.
It is. And it's reflected in his investments as well.
Oh, yeah. He's not just interested in making money.
He's looking for ventures that have the potential to fundamentally change the world.
That brings to mind his investment in life extension research and artificial intelligence.
Those are some big ideas.
These are areas that could have profound implications for the future of humanity.
Absolutely. Thiel is fascinated by the possibilities of technology to extend human life,
To cheat death.
to enhance our capabilities,
Yeah.
and even to create new forms of intelligence.
It's like something out of a science fiction novel.
He sees these areas as the next frontier of innovation, and he's willing to take risks.
To invest in ideas that many others might consider too speculative or even dangerous.
That's right.
And then there's the Thiel Fellowship,
Ah, yes, the Thiel Fellowship.
which encourages young people to drop out of college and pursue entrepreneurial ventures.
A controversial idea, for sure.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is, and it certainly ruffled some feathers in the academic world.
Oh, I bet. People were not happy.
But it also speaks to Thiel's belief in the power of individuals to create their own paths, to challenge conventional wisdom.
He's a big believer in individual empowerment.
He is. He sees the traditional education system as too slow, too bureaucratic, and not conducive to fostering true innovation.
He wants to shake things up.
He does. He wants to empower young people to take risks, to experiment, to build the future they want to see.
It's a bold vision.
It is. And it certainly had an impact on Silicon Valley culture.
But it also raises questions about access and privilege.
That's true.
Is this kind of radical individualism really accessible to everyone?
It's a good question.
Or is it primarily a luxury for those who already have a certain level of financial security and social capital?
That's a valid point.
Okay.
And it's one of the criticisms that's often leveled at Thiel.
I can see why.
Some argue that his vision of disruption and individual empowerment primarily benefits those who are already privileged.
That it exacerbates existing inequalities rather than addressing them.
Exactly.
So where does this leave us in terms of understanding Peter Thiel's legacy?
It's complicated.
He's clearly a brilliant and influential figure,
No doubt about that.
but he's also deeply controversial.
That's true.
His actions and beliefs often seem to contradict each other,
They do.
leaving us with more questions than answers.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Thiel's story is complex,
Lots going on.
multifaceted.
Hard to pin down.
It resists easy categorization. He's not a hero. He's not a villain.
Somewhere in between.
He's a brilliant, flawed, and deeply fascinating individual who embodies the contradictions of our time.
I like that.
And his legacy, like the future he's trying to shape, is still very much in flux.
It's interesting how he seems to attract a really loyal following. People who buy into his worldview, even when it gets a little bit controversial.
It's true. He's kind of cultivated this aura of the contrarian visionary.
Yeah. The outsider who sees what others miss.
Right. And that can be really appealing, especially in a world that feels uncertain and chaotic.
Makes sense, I guess. People are drawn to strong leaders.
To those who offer a clear vision for the future, even if that vision is a bit unconventional or even radical.
But it's not just blind faith, though, right? I mean,
No.
the guy surrounds himself with some incredibly bright people.
Oh, absolutely.
People actively shaping the future. Just look at the Thiel Fellowship alumni,
It's an impressive group.
the folks he's backed at Founders Fund, even some of those controversial figures he's aligned himself with politically.
You're right. They're not dummies.
They're actively shaping the world we live in.
Exactly. Thiel is a master networker. He understands the power of connecting with like-minded individuals,
Building alliances.
amplifying his influence. It's not just about having money.
It's about who you know.
Exactly. It's about having the right connections, the right people in your corner.
And he seems to have a lot of those.
He's cultivated a network that extends across technology, finance, politics, even culture.
It makes you wonder if that's always been the plan,
What do you mean?
to amass this kind of influence,
Yeah.
to play the long game, so to speak.
It's hard to say what Thiel's ultimate goals are. He's notoriously private
Yeah, he keeps his cards close to his chest.
and enigmatic, but what's clear is that he's playing a different game than most.
What do you mean?
He's not just chasing wealth or fame. He's seeking something deeper.
Something more meaningful.
Perhaps a fundamental shift in how society operates.
Wow, that's a big goal.
It is. And he's using technology, finance, even politics as tools to achieve that vision.
So to bring it back to our listeners, why should they care about Peter Thiel? What does his story tell us about the world we live in today?
That's a great question. I think Thiel's story forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about Silicon Valley and its influence on society. It challenges us to think critically about the values driving innovation, the potential for both progress and harm.
The double-edged sword of progress.
Exactly. And the ethical dilemmas that arise when technology collides with power.
That's a scary thought.
It can be. It's a cautionary tale in some ways about the unintended consequences of unchecked ambition.
And the importance of holding even the most brilliant minds accountable.
Absolutely. No one is above the rules.
Thiel's story is a powerful reminder that the pursuit of innovation and power is rarely straightforward.
It's a messy journey.
It's a messy, complicated journey with high stakes and often unintended consequences.
That's for sure.
As we continue to grapple with the rapid pace of technological change, it's essential to understand the forces shaping that change.
And the individuals and ideologies driving it forward.
Thiel's story is a window into that world. A glimpse behind the curtain of Silicon Valley's power and ambition.
It's a story that's still unfolding.
Yeah, it's not over yet.
And its ultimate impact remains to be seen.
The future is uncertain.
But one thing is certain, Peter Thiel will continue to be a force to be reckoned with. A provocateur who challenges our assumptions and forces us to confront the complex realities of the 21st century.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the enigmatic world of Peter Thiel. We encourage you to continue exploring his story, to delve into the source material, to engage with the ideas he's put forth, and to form your own conclusions about the man who's been called Silicon Valley's contrarian king.